Welcome to No Apology with Emilee and Chris. Thank you so much for joining us once again. We are so excited because today we've got a great show. And Chris, you have facilitated this. This has been a long time coming, and I want to get right into it because we actually had planned this and then we had to reschedule it and so on. But finally, Chris, I'll let you do the introduction because you and he are very good friends.
Yeah, do you want me to do it like big market voice guy?
Yeah, I do. I was hoping you'd do something.
Ladies and gentlemen, live from Arizona. A little too early for him. Please welcome Greg Reilly.
Da 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 da.
Greg Reilly is the general director of Maranatha Tours, a family-owned business that have been taking people to the Holy Land and Bible lands for now. You got to be over 50 years, yeah, Greg?
Yeah.
1972
we started. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is 51
well,
years.
earlier than that, but yes.
It became formal in 72, eh?
We'll call it formal.
Okay. But it's a really great story, and I want to start out with that because Maranatha Tours, it's got a history, it's got a purpose. Share that story with us.
Long version or short?
We got
medium.
time.
Medium. I hate saying long version because, then, get out of here.
We can leave out the romance story.
Yeah.
We'll put it in chef terms. Medium rare, medium.
Yeah. It was a warm summer's eve in ancient Greece.
Medium well. How about that?
All right. So Mike Reilly's your dad, and he kicked this all off. How did that all go down in 1972?
Actually, my grandfather Reilly is the original.
I did not know that. I learned something new.
Missionary in India. Mm-hmm. My father was born in India. Back then it was Calcutta. I think it's different now, but missionary in India, and for years, and in Lebanon. Went back to India. Got sick. Came back to the States. Doctor says, "We don't know what's wrong with you, but you're fine now." So he went back to India, got sick again, came back, and the doctor said, "Hey, if you go again, it'll probably kill you." So he didn't know what to do, and one of his buddies put him on a cruise ship or a steamship, I guess back then, and went to Israel, and came back, and he said every pastor, evangelist, anybody who's preaching the word has to go and experience this. So that's kind of where it started. And then, my father got involved later on. And, it started out as a ministry for pastors to go and experience this, come back and get on fire for the Lord and really, go to town. So
and that's what we've been telling people for a long time, Greg, is that when you go to Israel, there's something about it that's different than traveling anywhere else, especially for the believer.
I travel the world. I mean, Italy, Greece. We've been to Italy together. But Israel's the only place in the entire world, and I've been there since I was a child. So I can't even. Everybody asks how many times, I can't even count. Only place in the world that I get goosebumps when I hit the ground. It's no matter where you're at, there's always a different place. There's always a different story. There's always a different. This is what my grandfather always came back and said. I mean, once you can experience it, okay, everybody knows the Sea of Galilee. You've seen a picture of it, especially now with the internet. But when you can actually put your foot in the Sea of Galilee or see how big it is, it's really not that big of a lake.
Right.
But you can understand now, boats, fishing. I mean, they still fish the Sea of Galilee, so you can actually, walk it. We put you on the boat, which is one of the highlights, so you can actually kind of get the feel of what Jesus would have felt. And the disciples in the boat, or anybody for that matter, back in the day. That's kind of where my grandfather, built that from. And then, of course, they started bringing family. Then friends wanted to go, and then, of course, in Grand Rapids, Michigan, Maranatha was kind of born, I guess, as far as a travel company. And we've been doing that ever since. So family owned still.
You came with me. You came with me to Berlin Raceway one time, and we did an event there. I had no idea you were founded in Grand Rapids. Why did that not click?
I knew that.
I don't know.
Anyway,
it was really interesting though because your grandfather and your father, they had a real distinct purpose, like you said, getting pastors to go over there because they understand the Bible even better. and they can preach it better. But you guys have really hung on to some of that motivation and some of the ways that you do things from that very beginning. For instance, just to give an example, if you want to be rich, don't become a pastor.
Right.
And so that's one of your goals. You try to make it as affordable as possible so that as many people can go. You don't want money to be an issue. And there's other things as well that you've really hung on to over the years to make this a truly biblical experience and not just, another tourist trip.
Yeah. So what's your question then?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
tell us how you got that way, Greg.
No. But just talk to me about some of those original purposes behind the trip that you've really hung on to over the years and kept that as your motivation for continuing Maranatha tours over the generations now.
I mean, it's the same pattern. We follow Grandpa Reilly. I mean, we've held on to those traditions. My father too, I should say. I mean, he was kind of in the middle of it, but my grandfather really started it. So, if we could send everybody for free, we would. I mean, in 2 seconds. But unfortunately, we're not millionaires, so we can't do that.
You're not?
But no, we've tried to give the best deal, the most, and a lot of people there's other companies out there. Look, you can only do Israel 2 ways: clockwise and counterclockwise. I mean, that's how you do it. So, and Jesus, there's only one garden tomb. There's only one southern steps. So, you can kind of do that. But what we strive, if you see our tours, you've been on our tours, as much as the Bible as we can put in that tour as possible. So we don't walk. It's not you can consider it a vacation, but we run through the Bible, is what we call it.
I tell people you're touring, you're not on vacation.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we get you up as early as we can, get you fed, and we want you in that Bible the entire time. So there's always time to reflect. There's time to rest when you get home. But again, when you open that Bible up, you can say, "Man, I was there.
Yeah.
I mean, I walked there."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Sometimes just standing there, it feels surreal, doesn't it?
No, it is. I mean, like I said, the only place in the world give me goosebumps. Caesarea Philippi,
Yeah.
Capernaum.
Yeah. Yeah,
The
those are some
Western
good
Wall.
stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then when we talk about going to Israel with us, okay, Maranatha tours are our complete backstop. But when we take people on a tour, they don't get the same tour experience that other people get because we're there and we make it fun. And you taught me this. When I said I wanted to be a tour host, you taught me to make it fun. And so one of the things Greg and I did, we started making videos when we were over there. But it had to be over 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to do this escape from Lebanon into Israel. And so we did these pictures, right?
I remember taking those. Yeah. Yeah.
And so the other one, we did an amazing race at Masada where Emilee and I were eliminated from the race, and Greg was playing Phil and doing some stuff.
No, but you guys, we walked down to the palace of King Herod. So not a lot of groups do that. So
Right.
that's you of course do Masada at the top, but we walked down all those stairs and went to this palace, and not a lot of people get to see that. So that was a good time. We had fun.
Well, and then our Italy trip, that was a VIP tour host only. There was only like a dozen of us, and we got into the back of the Vatican. We got in there early. I mean, it was crazy the stuff that we got to see together. But let's talk about Israel.
Because I was there.
I know, I get that. Trust me. You don't think I notice when they find out that I'm good friends with Greg Reilly? You don't think my treatment from the ambassador and the Leonardo doesn't go way up? Of course it does.
But that's the thing, because you guys have been doing this for so long. You have developed relationships, really good, deep relationships with vendors and hotel owners and restaurants and things like that, haven't you?
We're on the 3rd generation. So my grandfather and grandfathers worked together. My father and their fathers worked together. And the sons, and daughters are working together. So
Yeah.
it's third generation. It's actually going to fourth now. So some of the folks overseas, my kids aren't old enough yet, but some of the folks overseas are already on the fourth generation. So
Yeah.
it's not just a like I said, there's other companies out there, but when you come with Maranatha, we know everybody. Not everybody, but everybody knows Maranatha.
Yeah.
I can walk the street and people will say hi, and just because they know of my and I chalk it up to my grandfather starting this whole thing. So
Yeah.
people still today remember my grandfather, and
Yeah.
he passed away in '92, I think it was. So
Okay.
it's they have good memories, and when you're over there with us, they treat our groups like family.
Yeah. I
They
was just gonna
do.
say it's like family.
We more than once we notice the special treatment, but also now that I've had a chance to go, I went in June, so post COVID, the whole country seems to be a little bit more in tune with this matters to us. We need these tourists here, and so
Yes.
it just felt a little different, if you know what I mean.
Should have been a lot cleaner too. I mean, they
It
had a few
was
years to
well, I mean, it's still the Middle East,
wipe
but
things down.
let's
It's
talk
still
for a
Middle
minute.
East.
Let's talk for a minute about Israel and Maranatha, and Pastor Chris Danielson, the Bible idiots going to Israel. I try to tell people this, and I really want your input on it, Greg. I try to tell people, I'm like, yeah, you can find tours out there for $2,500, but all you're getting is an airline ticket and really crappy accommodations, and every stop and every meal you're going to pay for. So by the time you get home, you've spent $5,500, and my people have only spent $4,700 because everything was included except for lunches. So when you look at cost, and then tour hosts all do different things, and there's different guides, and so no tour is ever identical. That's part of it. And then because of experience, because of relationships, we can sometimes get to go places that other people don't get to go, and that's always an attraction for people for that special thing. But how do we keep our costs just fixed when everybody else seems to be all over the board? Tell us a little bit about tour pricing, particular to Israel, particularly with our trip, which I think is still a bargain at $4,700. But
Look,
we got to
again,
talk about what's out in the marketplace.
we're not a third. We our partners. Matter of fact, Sammy and Fadi, who own some of the hotels and our partners, they're actually coming in next week for to hang out with us in Phoenix. So good to see them. Anyway, we're not a third man. We're not a middle man. We are the man. I should say the man, but when you go with Maranatha, okay, I'll say it. We're
Yeah,
the
you
man.
can say it.
When you go through, we've been doing this for so long. We own the buses, not us personally, Maranatha, but our parent company owns the buses. The hotels we've been contracting for you. We know everybody there, so we get good deals. I mean,
Yeah.
people want our groups, and that's the other thing, Chris. I want to say is I think what really sets us apart, especially your tour, our guides. Our
Yeah.
guides
Yeah.
are biblically. When you get to Israel with our guides, you're in the Bible right away. Now you'll still learn culture. You'll still learn about the different sides of Palestinians and the Jew. I mean, you still get that stuff. But our guides I handpick them to make sure that they guide the minute you arrive, you're in the Bible.
Yeah.
Till the minute you're leaving. So
Yeah.
that's what you're there for. I mean, we want you to be submersed in that Bible the entire time you're there because
Yeah.
that's what you're paying for.
And what's really cool is because you're gonna spend all this time with the tour guide. Like there's this deep affection that grows between them, and then we're still
And the bus
able,
driver.
and the bus driver too. And we're still able to like connect via Facebook and stuff like that. I mean, I have people over there that I'm seeing their feeds. We're going back and forth, and it's really cool because there is something about that biblical Christianity that really just binds people. And you see it particularly in Israel when you're looking at, Jews and Palestinians and Americans and Nigerians and, these people from all over the world come, and there's just this bond that comes from Christ that it's tangible. I mean, you feel it, you can see it. And it's really pretty cool. And it's kind of amazing, too. You still kind of feel these feelings even after all these years, don't you?
Yeah. No, look, we've had people meet each other that have been married. I got cornered. I meet so many people. I happened to be on the tour with them, And they go, "Hey, Greg, you remember us?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, I remember."
And
Long
you know
story
you do,
short,
but you don't.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they met each other and got married, and then decided to go back to Israel and celebrate their anniversary there. So there's a lot of things like that that happen. And look, it's Israel. I mean, like I said, it's Goosebump City. I mean, from the baptism, it's Goosebump City for me. I
I
mean,
know, right? I think it says
yeah,
it on the brochure. This is
yeah, no, it should
Goosebump
Goosebump
City.
City.
Goosebump City. Let's market it. Let's go with it.
Hey, Lord, what do you think? Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's his city, but maybe
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
throw something in there.
Right.
But no, things like I think everybody comes away. I tell the story, and it's not just adults; it's kids. And I should say kids, young adults. I mean, I think
Mm-hmm.
12 years old and up is a good age for kids to go. It's a
Good to
long
know.
trip. Anything younger than that, it's tough for adults. Chris,
Yeah.
I've seen Chris slumped over on the airplane,
Yeah.
Yeah.
almost wanting to jump off of it because it's a long trip. I
It's
mean,
a long trip, man. You work.
you,
You work. The hosts, we work really hard. The guides work really hard. I mean, everybody's
Yeah.
working really hard to give, and not a vacation, not just a tour, but a literal Bible experience, and see God's word come to life. And
Yeah.
so Greg Reilly's our special guest. He's the general director of Maranatha Tours. If you missed that at the beginning of the show, that is our host tour company for our trips to Israel, and we're doing another one in December 2024, and we're taking deposits for it right now, and that is the brochure. We are going December 2nd through the 9th. And Greg, if they give a deposit of $500, that holds their slot, and those deposits are really important, aren't they?
They are. Israel post. We never saw this coming. Of course, COVID hit. Well, we never saw COVID coming in the first place,
Right.
Right.
but
Right.
and everything shut down. Once things opened, we had meetings. I've had meetings with hotels, and I mean everybody overseas. And we thought maybe end of 23, 24 was once COVID was over, once people were traveling, it was a rocket ship. Israel is packed. So even
Yeah.
December right now, people are already signing up. And so, yeah, the deposit is crucial just to
Yeah.
reserve their spot. It's only a $500 deposit, but that gets your spot on the aircraft and the hotel, land arrangements. And then from
Yeah.
there, you can make payments or however you want to do it. But yeah, the $500 deposit now is a good thing to get in just to secure your space.
Well,
It really
we are
is.
going to limit the number of people going to go with us because we want to be able to serve them all. Sometimes bigger isn't always better if you want to really take care of your people, and so that means that it's first come first serve. But Greg, this also helps with inflation. Yeah, I mean, how are you going to fight inflation? How do we stand on these prices? I get asked that question a lot. How are you going to stand on the prices? I'm like, well, the early deposits give us the right to secure the stuff, and they're going to honor the
Then
prices.
you guys
18
can
months from
secure
now.
stuff. Yeah.
Are you going to run for president, Chris? Because
No.
if you do, then that's a good way of stopping this inflation.
I know,
Look,
right?
right now, it's just like the states. Your guess is as good as ours. We have all new rates, but yes, the hotels want money. Everybody wants to increase, but Maranatha, we always put our foot down and do our best to keep everything as low as we can. Once we set a price, we want to make sure that, and again, we can't guarantee inflation. We don't know where that's going to happen with that.
Right.
But we're all praying and hoping that when things settle down that it'll get back to good again. But for right now, your price for your brochure is set with everything in mind now for 24. So
Yeah.
we should
Yeah.
be pretty good as far as the price goes.
Yeah.
And it's really a great thing because, we were talking about just a second ago, Israel's not that big. It's like, what, the size of New Jersey, maybe? And yet they have people coming from all over the world that have
Yeah.
a deep desire to come and stay there. So, like, there is literally only so much room. So you guys have to book this stuff far out, and you have to do some of these things that you do. So getting that deposit in is crucial to you guys being able to do your job, isn't it?
It is, and I never thought I would say this. Excuse me, but there's a place in the Bible where it says there's no room at the inn. Right now, there's certain groups. There's no room at the inn.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're telling everybody, especially now, get your deposit in. Again, that gets your space, that gets your spot, and then from there, at least you have a spot. We have had some folks now that have waited, or I shouldn't say procrastinate, but waited, and we do our best to fit everybody on that we can.
Yeah.
But again, right now it is so different post COVID because of the amount of people, Emily, that you said are traveling to Israel. That get your deposit, that we get your spot, so we don't have to call you and say, "Hey, there's no room at the inn."
Yeah. And so here's the thing. There's so many places to go. There's so many things to see over there. How do you guys decide, these are the important places. These are the things that people need to see. What goes into that decision making as you're putting tours together? Because the different tours might look a little different.
Yeah, it's up to the host. A lot of it. It's up to us, right, Greg?
It is. I mean, look, like I said, your basic tour, and this goes, back 2,000 years ago. So we follow the Jesus steps in his ministry as far as the tour goes. So Tiberias, that's a huge part of his ministry. Matter of fact, one of my favorite spots, just because it's quiet. Sometimes on that Sea of Galilee, especially with the boat when they shut the engines off, you get that feel, that peace. You can just feel that. Yeah. So look, we start with the heart of Jesus' ministry in Tiberias. You'll hit the synagogue. You'll the old synagogue that was there that he could have preached in or teached in, should I say? But you'll be on the Sea of Galilee. We'll do all those things, and of course, then back in there's some sites that are not in the Bible, Masada, which we'll see. But again, with the Jewish part, the Jewish part, or the Israeli part, it's a huge history and story that they tell. So it's great for us to know it. But then you get the Palestinian side. We get you into Bethlehem, so you can get to see Jesus' birth. Also, a lot of the population of Christians are in Bethlehem, so we get to take you to, and you guys can experience that. But as far as the planning goes, we try to hit every not hotspot, but every major site that you can. Again, like you said, there's so much to see and do. You could spend 3 weeks there and probably not see everything.
Right.
So we get as much as you possibly can. Jordan River, you get a chance to be baptized. We get Chris to jump in the water for you, do a cannonball, and then there he is.
There's a baptism right there.
And just a warning,
in the Jordan River,
there are little fishes that swim around your feet.
There are. That's why I don't get in.
Yeah. You and Emily have never gotten in the water with me ever in Israel. Emily hasn't either, and I've never gone to Israel and not gotten in the Jordan River to do a baptism something.
I love watching it.
What's that?
No, we're the photographers. We have to.
Yeah, I know.
Holding people's stuff.
Yeah. Doing that.
We have to do it. We can't get in the water with the cameras.
Well, I only have so many pictures loaded, so I don't have one of me eating the Peter's fish. But I used to bite the head off the. I know, but there's only so many slots here, and I don't even know what all we got.
Okay,
here. Anyway,
but that's really it's a good point talking about the food.
Yeah, I want to talk about the food for a second. The reality is that our hotels have to be chef level
approved,
and you are the chef that approves them. And my people in June came back, and it was our first time at the Ambassador Boutique, which is the new Ambassador. We've always stayed at the old Ambassador
Hotel, and
I love the boutique. I love it. We've booked the boutique for the next trip because it's so good. But the food is so incredible, man. I mean, we have buffets and breakfast that are world class, and then we have buffets every night that are world class. All you pay for is your lunch, and that's part of the all-inclusive Maranatha tour pricing when you go with the Bible idiots to the Holy Land. And so talk a little bit about how you keep that food standard up, because it is not like other places we have gone. Our tours eat really, really well.
No, I bring the American, what are you doing in here? Attitude as far as the kitchen goes.
Hey, you've done something because it's pretty cool. It's stout, man.
Yeah.
No, they listen. I don't practice being a chef anymore. Well, ask my wife. Every night I'm cooking, but
you are literally a chef. So let's just get that out there.
That was your career before you went to the family
that
business.
Was not tongue in cheek. That's a real thing. You're a chef. You know good food.
Own restaurants and all that good stuff. But and the Lord said, no more. And all of a sudden I'm back here with the family, but I'm grateful and happy. And look, what better way to be a chef than be able to travel the world and experience the food? So a lot of our questions are on food. because of us Americans are so picky with, everything. Classic story. Before we get into Israel, I always tell everybody this. We're in Greece. I have a group. I have 50 people. I said, listen, let's go to the Plaka. Let's get some authentic Greek food. I got 3 people that joined me. The rest of the group went to Kentucky Fried Chicken.
In Greece.
In Greece. And they loved it. They were like, "Oh, it's the best."
Okay. So here's the caveat, though, because Chris and I have traveled a lot of places, and a lot of places it's like, don't drink the water and be careful what you eat. But that's not the way it is in Israel, is it?
No. Matter of fact, Israel's as clean as we are. So now I don't drink water anywhere. Matter of fact, I don't drink my own water in Phoenix. I bottle water it. So
Phoenix is
I've drank Phoenix's water. You're making the right choice.
City Punch, man.
I mean, it's like swimming in a pool. You get a little water in your mouth, and like, oh my gosh. So in Israel, and there's bottled water for everybody, and there's bottled water at the tables, but there's also tap if you want to. But yeah, Israel's very clean, probably as clean as America. Dietary wise, all the food you're going to get is organic. Not all of it, but most of it's organic. So
that's why it tastes so good.
When you have salad here, it's not the same as having a salad in Israel.
It's not. And same even like with hummus. I can't find good hummus in the States to save my life. But I always thought I don't really like hummus. But I went to Israel and I will just eat spoonfuls of it. It's so yummy.
Yeah, I'm looking for a hummus guy.
Hey, let me
Middle East hummus.
Yeah,
I know.
That's the thing. Now, are you still doing the cooking through the Bible? Can people find that stuff? Because you do recipes and you cook stuff from the Middle East.
It's kind of on hiatus for a second.
Okay,
we're gearing that back up again.
Okay, good.
But look, COVID put a wrench into probably everybody's life, and that was one of them. So right now, my focus is on getting everybody that I can into Israel and letting them experience the whole thing. But if you can still go to Cooking Through the Lands of the Bible. It's still there. We're in the process of doing some other things with it. But right now,
you have a library. You have a library of videos. I mean, you did I think I remember watching at least 7 to 10 of them. Am I wrong?
A few of them. Yeah.
You can go to YouTube, Cooking Through the Lands of the Bible on YouTube. There's some there. We got a new website being built right now for Maranatha. We'll put them on there too. So
awesome.
We can throw some on Fresh Road Media if we do some together.
We want to get you there live, and so because again, Chris, Emily, I'm the same boat. We have a Middle Eastern place here right down the street, probably one of the better ones in Arizona. We bring our guys. Anybody who comes in town, we take them there just because it's fun. I don't know what happens when they leave Israel and come to the States and they lose the flavor. But I think it's the water. I think it's the food. I think when people get to Israel, you got to experience to believe it. I mean, how good it is. I mean, even a French fry tastes different over there than it does.
I know,
right? And lamb, wow.
Coca-Cola in a glass bottle tastes different in Israel than it does anywhere else. And it's just one of those things you have to experience to get to know it. I try to tell people, and words don't do justice.
Yeah. No. So you'll still have sorry, Emma.
Go ahead.
Your people will still have, or everybody who travels, they do the authentic stuff on the buffets, but they'll still have the American stuff. Just in case. So just so everybody's not scared that they're gonna have to try something new every night. They'll have chicken, they'll have fish, they'll have some a meat source. Like I said, they love their chips over there. They call them chips, which is fries. Yeah. So fries pretty much all over the place. But then you get your falafels and your bread. I mean, they'll have eggs in the morning, a lot of salads. So even nowadays there's a lot of dietary questions we get, vegan to just dietary. Everything is so fresh and organic. You'll find anything you want to eat. Matter of fact, your doctors will probably force you to go just so you can get that good food for a week. In your body.
Well, we had that one gal who was anti-gluten, anti-this, anti-something else. She was very, very special needs when it came to food. And this was like 7 years ago on one of our trips. You were on that trip with us. You remember her? It was a mother-daughter, and the daughter was like 20 years old, and very nice folks. But she just had these dietary restrictions. Well, she started trying to eat some of the food over there. And she was actually, they were elated. The last 2 days, she was eating everything off the buffet. She hadn't done that in years.
Right.
It was That was insane. I don't know if you remember that, but
Look,
probably
it
deal with so
happens
many
every-
dietary things. How you
Yeah,
going to
no,
remember
every
mine
tour,
from 7
yeah.
years ago?
every tour, there's a few of them. I mean, and it's getting more and more. I mean,
Yeah.
which is great, but it's different from the States. It's everything is so fresh and organic over there. There's no pesticides. I mean, it's so you get rid of all that stuff. I have a family member that's addicted, allergic to one of the dyes in the food.
Yeah.
They don't put dyes in there, so everything you get over there is fresh
Yeah.
and good. Look, we can talk about food all day. I mean, that
I
know,
We got to
right?
move on.
isn't that
Okay,
the best
so-
part of
I'm
the
getting
tour?
hungry.
It really is. It really is. And so, and these are questions that people have. So,
Yeah.
okay, the lodging is great. It's right on par with what you would get here in the United States. The food off the chain, even better. But one of the questions that people do have is safety. They're very nervous about going to this place where they know things sometimes blow up.
It's in the news a lot.
It's in the news
It
a
is in the
lot.
news.
But what we see on the news is not necessarily an accurate picture, is it?
No, I mean the bad thing is look, this goes back 2,000 years. Nobody likes Israel. I mean, if we really look at it, Israel's been in a fight their entire existence.
Yes.
And that's no different now. So
Yeah.
when they show the news, they show the Middle East, whether it's in Iran or whatever, they show that big picture, and Israel's right in the middle. So a lot of folks think that that's where it's at. Now, there are issues in Israel. It happens. I mean, but again, go to Chicago, go to the States right now. I have friends overseas that will not come to America right now because their news is telling them how bad it is over here.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a tit for tat now as far as who's the worst. But in Israel, and Chris hit it right on the head earlier. They especially with COVID, they know they need tourists. I mean, that's their livelihood. So,
Yeah.
It is.
as far as safety goes, I've been there when the bombs have gone off. I've been there when things have happened, and I'm still here. I guess I would send my kids there if I did. I won't bring my wife with me, and she's always begging to go.
Yeah, she was with us a couple times too. Yeah.
I mean, and she won't go downtown Phoenix by herself, but she'll take the girls in because I won't do it anymore. I did this one day in Jerusalem for 5 hours shopping. No thanks, I won't do that again.
You don't like the old town haggling?
No, I love it, but not shopping for 5 hours. So she'll take the girls by herself. They'll all go shopping in the old city, come back smiling and having a good time, and there really is no worries. Look, if there are, we let you know. The other good thing with Maranatha is, Chris, you said it too about our drivers. Some of the best drivers, but they also know everybody. So if there's any hot spots, if there's anything going on, the drivers know right away. You'll never know. Chris, you might know if you're on the bus.
Know.
Of course, I would know. But the group itself will never know if there's anything going on because we won't take you there.
Right.
That's just what's we just won't do it.
On our last trip, the driver and my guide Simon, they met the first day when they drove to the airport to pick us up. But by day 2, it's like they'd worked together forever. It's like everybody knows their role. And they have cell phones. And so we're talking about different sites. We're talking about the driver's experience, the guide's experience. We had 3 situations on our last trip where I call it a home run. Mount Carmel, where Elijah was. We pulled in. There was only one other bus when we pulled in. We did our thing. And as we're walking back out, everybody's doing their bathroom break, in which we give like a 10-minute bathroom break. And then we're back on the bus. When we pulled out of that place, I counted 13 buses. That's a home run. That's a win. And we have guides and drivers that we know the game. We know how to play the game and win.
Yeah.
And you may never even notice us doing all that stuff at the front of the bus as we're just doing different things. But it is a experience we don't want you to miss out. Greg Reilly's our special guest. He's the general director of Maranatha Tours. If you are a video listener/watcher, I have the brochure up on the screen right now. And it is December 2nd through the 9th. Pastor Gary Kuhn is my travel companion, my co-host. I'm Pastor Chris Danielson right there, the Bible Idiots guy, and we want you to go with. And Mike Shaw is going to have this up on the website, freshroadmedia.com, real soon. So pray about it, think about it, and join us. And there, on this brochure that's on the screen, I actually have a paper copy that I can send you. I can email you. So if you get a hold of me, I'll get it. There's a QR code on there. You scan it, book your trip, drop $500 now, and this man, Greg Reilly, will make sure it's safe and sound until it's time to go. Now, what is the current post-COVID cancellation process? I have to ask because I get asked this all the time. And at what point is it drop dead? Your money is at risk if you don't go and you didn't buy insurance.
Well, one, buy insurance.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I think coming down the pipeline, it's going to be mandatory. Right now, we are trying to make it mandatory. Not so much for COVID, but look, the world right now and airlines right now, it's just like the States. I was in Dallas a month ago, was delayed hours, both ways coming to and from. Never had that issue before. So even airlines in the States, there's problems. So insurance helps if you miss your flight. Insurance helps if somebody gets sick in the family when you can't go. Insurance helps if your luggage gets lost, which we've had a few recently. Their luggage gets lost. Go to the store, buy your clothes, you get reimbursed. So the insurance goes a lot further than COVID. Right now, COVID, though, we are post-COVID, and all the countries are acting like that. So if it happens and spikes again, or if things happen, then we'll let you know. But as of today, look, we just had we'll have another 1,000 this month, and then probably 1,500 in the next three months traveling. There's even no talk about COVID right now. So
Right.
Whether it's Israel, Italy, Greece, the States, everything's traveling like normal again. So we go back to normal terms. Of course, you give your $500 deposit and you pay, and then of course, if you cancel, there are stipulations. 45 days, or I'm sorry, 100 days prior is when the penalties start, and that's all in the brochure. That's all in the terms, Chris. So
it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Because people want to know. Here's something that came up for me, and then this is my last question, and then Emilee's going to ask you your final thoughts, and then you're done. You can go to work. So our 20-minute interview is at 37 minutes right now, but we're having fun. So
let's do it again. Come on, let's sell your tour. Let's get you 2 buses.
Yeah. Let's get it going. So my question, I just forgot. It's insane. What were we just talking about?
COVID and the deposit.
Terms.
Oh, yes, terms. So as people are looking at this, one of the things that's come up to me is that our trip is literally 30 days from the next election. And so I say buy the insurance and everything's good. And so just kind of give your thoughts about going in December 2024. It's 16 months from now. I'm thinking it's going to be just fine. Everything's going to be fine. But if it's not, the insurance has you covered if you pick up the insurance. But what's your thoughts on everybody talking about the calamity around our elections and that this might be a bad time? I think it's a great time, but what do you think about our December
Well, one, you're not in the
timeframe?
States. One, you're not in the States, so I'd be more worried about the States and things going on than overseas, one.
Yeah.
Two, I've been overseas probably maybe, I don't know, almost every election, I would say, except for the last one because of COVID. So I wasn't there. Never had an issue. Matter of fact, it's fun because you hear all the different sides. Some people want this side. The big ones, Obama. During the Obama years, I said, "There's no way." So I have a friend in Egypt, Yasser. I said, "There's no way it's going to happen. There's no way Obama's not going to win." And by the time I crossed the Egypt border, he had his Obama pin on. This is Egypt. He has his Obama pin on, and he says, "Hey, Obama just won." So, I mean, I've been on the ground when things have happened, or elections, and again, that I would not worry about.
I'm not really concerned about the elections. More the chaos that everybody's anticipating around these elections than carrying through the month of November into Thanksgiving and might upset our trip. That's a conversation I had with an individual, and I'm like, I just don't see it happening. I mean, if our trip isn't going, then nobody's going.
Right.
Exactly.
You know?
Period. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only time that's ever happened with us is 9/11. Of course, that was a 2-week period where nobody traveled. Period. And then of course COVID. So from 1972 until today, we've the intifadas, the wars, Iraq. I mean, everything that's gone on in this world, United States. We've always had people traveling without any issues to and from Israel. Matter of fact, the entire world, but big time Israel, going there, coming back without any issues.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
All right. Well, we won't want to keep you too much longer, but the one last thing I want to ask you, your final thoughts, the one thing about Israel that you want people to know or that you want people to take away when they do travel to Israel. What's that thing?
That's just an open-ended question. What do you? I mean,
I know.
come here.
I think the correct answer is a deposit.
There you go.
Your favorite
Just
thing
go.
when you're going to Israel, what's the number one thing that you're excited for your tours to see or experience?
The experience, period. The entire experience.
Period. Okay.
I mean, everybody's going to have their own favorite site. Everybody's going to have their own favorite time. Everybody's going to reflect in a different way. Some people like baptism, unless Chris is doing it. Some people like the.
He holds
I'm just
it down
joking,
a little
Chris. They love
long.
it. They love it.
I don't blame
They
you.
love you.
Keep going. That was an open shot. You had to take it. Low hanging fruit.
No, but Sea of Galilee, I think, is a big one. The Tiberias area, a lot of folks just to be able to meditate. Excuse me. A thing I tell everybody, I took my sons, and this kind of relates to can relate to everybody, and especially me looking at it, bringing them. We went to the Valley of Elah, and they grabbed stones. So Sunday school, this is months later, and came home and said, "Hey, Dad, guess what? We talked about David and Goliath. Really?" He goes, "Dad, I got to tell them I was there.
Yeah.
I have the stones to prove." So there's things like that.
I have 5 stones behind my chair at my office right now.
Yeah. Just be prepared to account for them when you go through the airport.
Yeah,
that's
security,
all.
anyway.
There's things like that you experience in Israel that you will never experience. Now, everybody, we read the Bible, we know it's true. We experience that. When you're praying, whatever your relationship with God, but when you're there on the land. So the southern. Look, not every place is where Jesus was. They're guessing, they think, but the Southern Steps is one. And Chris, I remember you were preaching on the Southern Steps when we were there last time. But that's one place where Jesus would have, no matter of fact, walked up to the temple, and we get to sit on those steps. Who knows if you've even walked where Jesus walked? I mean, so there's things like that where you can, again, everything's true. We believe it's true, but when you can experience it and see it in person, it takes it to the next level.
That's great. That's a great answer.
Yeah,
experience it. Don't just read about it. Yeah, I love it.
It's experience.
I love it.
And we are, Greg and Emily and I are all in the mode to tell you that you need to experience Israel however you can. We'd prefer it to be with us, but if not, and you got a different trip going, I'm just jacked for my friends when they come back from other trips. Even, we would have went with you, but we had this deal with this guy and that guy. It's like, I don't mind. Just get to Israel, get in God's town, get that vibe. And I'm telling you, it changes you forever. It changes the way you look at the Bible forever. There's things you will see you can't unsee. There's things you're going to feel you can't unfeel. You know that God has touched you. And when Greg was talking about the safety, you and I, Greg, we used to talk about how great it would be if God would take us out that way. You're in Jerusalem and something comes. What a way to go home, That's
look how close you are.
I have not for not 1 second, ever felt unsafe in Israel. The whole time, from the time I land till we're wheels up, I just feel blessed that I got a chance to be there.
Yeah.
So. All right, Greg, thanks for hanging out with us. Emily, what do you want to do now?
Hey, it's been fun.
Yeah, it's been really fun.
You're coming back in a month.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, I'm here anytime you need me.
All right, and we'll see, hopefully people will go to freshroadmedia.com and click on our Israel trip and sign up today.
Right.
Assuming Mike has it ready. We'll talk about that with him next. I think he's our next guest.
He is. Thanks, Greg, so much for being with us.
Nice to see you guys.
Same here. Hey, if you enjoy listening to No Apology with Emilee and Chris, if you get any encouragement from it, please consider standing with us financially. Go to freshroadmedia.com and consider giving a wonderful gift today. It is appreciated.
Welcome back to No Apology with Emilee and Chris. We are so glad that you're spending your time with us. It was so good to have Greg Reilly on as our guest this time to talk about Israel. But this show is about Christian living with joy. Having the joy of the Lord, having fun, respecting other people, loving other people, but not letting them walk all over you.
Yeah.
So we stand on the Word of God with no apology, which means we do apologetics as well. But today, I think, Emilee, you got other plans. It's your show. Where are we headed now?
Well, right now we're going to do Right On, Way Off. You know it's my favorite part of the show, but we can't do it, of course, without our friend Mike Shaw. He joins us with us. Joins us with us. Joins us with us.
Yes, I am joining you with you. It's kind of redundant, but yes.
See what Greg Reilly does to
I
us?
know.
Greg's hilarious.
Makes us goofy.
And by
That
the way,
dude is funny.
I know,
is
by the way,
funny.
after
I want to
the-
hang out with that guy.
Yeah.
After the interview, it's like an hour later now.
Yeah.
That little 30-second break you had for
should've
us, it was
recorded
an
that.
hour because we quit recording with Greg and we just told
visiting.
stories for an hour.
You should have
Yeah.
recorded it.
We should have.
I don't know. There's some things in there I'd rather not have a chance to
What
see the light
happens
of
in
day.
the studio
Yeah.
stays in the studio.
Let me just put it this way. There are a lot of, I don't know if I want to use the word gross,
Yeah.
but not necessarily for public broadcasting stories of coming out of the Middle East of tourists that have had challenges that are just hilarious.
I
and
know,
it
right?
was just so fun to hear him
We
tell
gotta
the stories.
share some of those stories, the shareable ones,
Next time.
Next time, and then I think next time too, we should let Greg join us for Right On, Way Off.
Yeah.
What do you think? We could do a little Foursquare thing.
I think that would be great. We'll have Greg on for Right On Way Off.
I'm right
next time.
on with that. He has a wicked sense of humor.
He's
man.
really
He's
good. No,
really funny.
he's one of us. You know,
Yeah,
I've
right.
always said that. Greg's
He's
one
a
of
Danielson.
us. And
And it's really funny because his last name's Riley, and our granddaughter's name is Riley. So maybe there's something
different
there.
spelling.
From my last
Maybe.
church, one of my best friends there, Mike O'Reilly.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So it's an
O'Reilly.
O'Reilly.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Not
Okay.
O'Reilly, an O'Reilly.
O'Reilly.
So we're moving on to Right On, Way Off.
Right On, Way Off, Emilee.
And today we're going to do like an expansion pack.
Yeah.
You know how you have the games and then you get more.
Oh,
Editions
so
of
not
it.
3 questions today.
No, we're going to have more, like 5 or 6 or
We
something.
get better weapons.
5 or 6? Are you
Better
struggling?
we're getting a weapons upgrade.
Yeah.
5 or 6? Are you struggling
We're
to count
gonna
to 6?
we're gonna level up. Yeah, I kind of actually. Well, it could be 5. It could be 6. It depends on how I'm feeling, how things are
Okay.
going.
So, Mike, what she's saying is based on how you and I behave.
Oh, great. We're in
At the,
trouble.
at the end of the 5th question,
That's
Yeah.
part of it.
she will make a mother's decision whether we can continue.
I'll be good, I promise.
I'm glad you figured that out. All right,
I
you
was
guys.
intent on being good, and then
now,
Then you get around Chris.
here's a little
have to
caveat
separate
I
you
would
two.
love for you to add.
Okay.
Okay. I would like you to say, Chris, you're up first, and then give the question. Or Mike, you're up first, and then give the question. I'd like to
Okay.
know if I'm the first one up or not when I'm hearing the question.
I don't care.
You're such
I'd like
a
to know.
control freak.
I don't
No,
care.
I'd like to know.
But
I don't care.
I will do that. I'll
You know,
try
you're
to
not
do
caring,
that.
Mike, doesn't help my
I'll
point.
try.
I know.
I have to preface who's up first, right on or way off. That's our first
That's
question.
way off. That's
No.
just my preference. I don't care. I'll hold my tongue if I must.
Yeah.
But it's hard to let Mike Shaw talk when I've got my answer ready.
I know. I know. I think
It's
I
true.
think we're kind of we're having you grow.
We're
Yeah.
chomping at the bit.
I think you need to,
Yes.
have
We're
me
having
conditioned
you
to not being
mature
the
and grow
front
up
of the
and
line. all
yes,
that.
yeah. You can just count it as therapy.
Wasn't
right?
it yesterday at our staff meeting that someone said to Chris and I, "Don't make me separate you two"?
Yes, there was someone, a wise woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
said,
I know.
Don't make me separate
Well.
you two.
Hey, if you're going to pay me nothing and then take away my ability to joke, what am I doing here?
Well, we're going to play Right On, Way Off, and today I think it's really totally appropriate that we focus on Israel since
Okay.
we were talking about the whole Israel tour and everything.
Sure.
So first question, Chris, we'll start with you.
Thank you for that.
Did you think I was going to forget?
No, I didn't think you were.
'Cause I
I
will.
thought you were going to just blow it off
I'll
completely. The fact
forget.
you did it once, bravo.
If I don't, it's because I forgot. And did I mention I'm over 50? So,
Yeah,
you know. Okay, here we go.
And I think you'd have to care a little bit too, which you don't. But go
Right,
ahead.
Right On, Way Off is just a series of statements, and then I ask our two gentlemen here whether those statements are right on or way off, and then I let them know at the very end who's right, who's wrong, and I'm always right. So, statement number 1: having to do with Israel, the embassy moving to the city of Jerusalem from Tel Aviv. Good move. Right on or way off?
Oh, right on. It's one of the best moves in my lifetime as far as Bible prophecy. Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. The reason they couldn't have Jerusalem the capital of Israel is the stumbling block between all of the Arabs and the Jewish people trying to settle together after 1948.
Yeah.
Everyone started putting their embassies in Tel Aviv because of that.
Yeah.
And when they started putting all their embassies in Tel Aviv, that tried to downplay Jerusalem, the apple of God's eye.
Right.
So when Donald Trump moved the embassy to to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv, that was a huge statement biblically. So I am right on.
All right, Mike Shaw.
I am
Enlighten us.
I am right on.
All right.
For all the reasons Chris just stated, and I'll elaborate a little bit. First, I want to correct something from the last show.
Yeah.
Remember,
Is this that little correction in the bottom of the newspaper back in the 70s?
Very
A
small
retraction.
A retraction.
He's
Very
the
small
retractor.
print.
He's the retractor.
I mentioned that I thought maybe the Biden administration had moved it back. They did not.
Okay.
So the embassy is still in Jerusalem.
It is. They're
So
just not happy about it, right?
Probably not. I just wanted to make that clear. So, but anyway, I am right on. Before President Trump, previous presidents had promised that they would do the same.
That's true. It's been an ongoing discussion
They
for
had
a while.
promised, and they had promised, and then they would promise, and then they promised.
They literally signed things that allowed them to kick it down the curb for another 12 months. Every 12 months, they'd have to sign something.
They were all gutless. But anyway, President Trump got it done.
Perfect word for it. Gutless.
They were
Yeah.
gutless, and
Yeah.
President Trump had the guts, and it was great. Israel is our best friend for obvious reasons. And what a way to honor them and to do the right thing.
Yeah,
I'll
it
show
really
you a
is the
picture.
right thing.
I want to show you a picture of us at the embassy.
Okay,
if I can
Chris,
do this again.
Why don't you give it to me?
Wow.
We did. We had the privilege of going to
Can't
and
read it on
just
that. I'll have to have you pop that picture in
looking at the embassy that was there when we were there in Israel, and it was really kind of a interesting moment because the people that would like stand guard out front and everything, they knew people are going to come here en masse just to see it. But I think it's so weird. You guys are both right on. We're all right on with that. But just think about it. As a sovereign nation, your people and your government has declared Jerusalem the capital, and yet all the surrounding countries are going, no, it's not.
This is
And it's like, that's weird.
Yeah.
That's just weird.
I tell people, if you don't believe in God, then why does everyone hate Israel and Christians?
Yeah.
Doesn't that kind of?
Yep.
Is there any other reason for that?
Exactly.
There has to be.
You've got big tech companies, government agencies. You've got all kinds of people bending over backwards to try to make sure that we all treat everybody as nice and special as possible. And you can't do anything that's going to offend somebody because that's wrong. Don't misgender somebody. Don't do that. But when it comes to Christian and Jews, have at it. Do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. Doesn't matter. We don't care.
You can mock and offend them.
In fact, if
It's
we could just imprison them or kill them, our nirvana society might come apart.
All right.
All right. So that's my happy joy time talk.
All right, Mike, we're starting with you.
I have a
time.
point of personal. You turned up my headphones again accidentally. The other way. Wait, is that the right way?
And don't mess with mine.
Okay. So a little higher, please. A little higher. Right there. Perfect. Thank you.
All right.
It just got real loud all of a sudden. It's like,
Yeah, well, I bump around down here. All right, Emily, we're going on to question number 2.
Question number 2, we're going to start with Mike.
Okay.
Mangoes. Don't you love mangoes? Mangoes are one of Israel's main exports. Is that right on or way off?
Sure. Can I stall for time while I Google?
Yeah.
No.
I'll go with right on. The climate seems about right.
Okay.
Israel certainly has turned the desert into just a beautiful
Food
garden.
mania,
Food
right?
mania.
Yeah, you go to Israel, you see the desert has bloomed.
God said it would happen, and it has happened.
Because God commanded the Israelites to plant a tree of every kind, and they take that very literally, and they've
very
done that.
seriously.
So,
Yeah.
But they just went crazy with mangoes. So I'm going to go right on.
Okay, Chris.
I'm going to go way off.
Why?
Because bananas is their big thing. And they have more banana farms than anything else. I cannot see them taking the margins with the banana pipeline that's happened. By the way,
There's a banana
there is
pipeline?
90% of the bananas grown in Israel. 90% of the bananas grown in Israel are exported.
Yes.
Okay.
They don't eat them there.
They're not even big banana fans. But agriculturally, the farms, the way they're set up, I mean, they got nets covering acres and acres of stuff.
Bananarama.
It's incredible. So that's what I'm saying. I've never had the big mango thing in Israel. If it is something, it got past me. I would say way
Who
off.
wins?
Encyclopedia Brown, Chris is correct. So I don't know how fair this one's going to be when we start talking about Israel, but he is correct. But I think if they had chosen mangoes, they could very well have done that as well. But most of the bananas that you would eat, like if you're in Europe, they're all from Israel. And they have these huge banana.
Yeah. And by the way, the spirit of the right on way off questions is not factual. It's usually opinion based on what's going on. So
in my opinion, it's mangoes.
Even though they don't even grow mangoes in Israel.
But nothing is more fun than learning. So, again, expansion pack.
Expansion pack.
Expansion pack.
The more you
know. Okay, question number 3. Chris, we'll start with you. Israel is the largest immigrant-absorbing country in the world. That's a statement. Is that right on or way off?
I'd say way off, and my only reason for saying way off would be geographical size. But the dispersa is over. 1948 has happened. There's been a call all over the globe. Jews, return to your homeland.
True.
And they have been returning in droves. In fact, the population, I don't even know if it's doubled, tripled, whatever it's been, but there are a lot of people from all over the globe that are back living their Jewish heritage of every tribe and tongue.
Yes.
They've been dispersed all over the world. So that's where I stand on it.
Well,
I would say no because of the geographical size,
just 'cause it's
but
so small.
I know that there's a big push for,
true. Mike, what do you think?
And there's another thing too.
Okay.
If I wanted to immigrate to Israel, I have to have, I think the number's 350,000 in liquid cash,
and you have to have a job, a position.
Yes, you have to have a reason.
You will not be a part of.
Otherwise, you can't just go to Israel and buy a house. That's just not.
And you
something
can't be
that happens.
a drain on their economy
That's
or their
fair.
resources. Yeah,
Liquid cash,
absolutely.
does that count Bitcoin?
And it also has to do
question.
whether you're Orthodox Jew or not, because
They're
Orthodox
given
Jews get a
priority.
totally different settlement package than everybody else. But that's a whole nother story.
Okay.
Okay,
All right,
that's
Mike-
a lot
Mike
of
Shaw.
That's a lot of factoids in this.
We're
episode.
learning stuff.
Hey, you brought the expansion pack.
Hey.
Mike Shaw,
We're
what do you
learning
think?
stuff.
What do you think?
Well, I'm glad Chris went first, so I'm going to go way off on that because
Okay.
I think his point about just the size, geographical size.
Yes.
So I'm guessing it's probably the United States. But I did want to take this opportunity to make the point that, Israel gets slandered a lot and for no reason. They are a democracy and the Arabs who live in Israel have more rights in Israel than they would anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
That's just the kind of place that Israel is.
Yeah.
If you're an Israeli, then you are treated well and you have full rights. And
If you're an Israeli of Jewish descent, you're treated real well.
right.
If you're an Israeli of Arab descent, you have different rules and different standards that are for you.
But they're free,
true.
are they not?
They're
Yes,
free,
they are.
but
Right.
Yes. Okay,
there's a lot of
let's
issues
move
we could
on.
turn
Well,
into a
let's
whole
move
show on
on.
that.
So
I
I
would
ha-
not say that every Israeli Arab feels the way you just described.
True,
and
they
have,
can't
They have
necessarily
legit reasons to feel
move
that way.
about the same. Yeah,
Well,
they
I'm,
can, and
I'm
so
at
on.
a disadvantage. You guys have been there 1,700 times, and I've been there. I've been there 0.
That's true.
We'll kind of go back on something that you touched on, though, in
Okay.
a little bit. So,
All right.
where am I in the whole
You're
thing?
in, you're
Is it
question
time
4.
to go to you?
Well, it's time for you to give us the.
You both gave your
the
thing.
truth.
Israel is the largest immigrant-absorbing country in the world. Per capita, per square mile. Yes, that is absolutely
capita.
true.
Per capita per,
Per
square
capita.
mile.
From the fact file, they do absorb more immigrants than any other country
Trick
per
question.
capita. And not only that, but they absorb immigrants from more than 100 countries across 5 different continents. And so what people don't necessarily realize is that you can be a Jewish person, yet you're living in Africa and you are, black. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's no barriers in that situation, and so yes, they do. They absorb more immigrants than any other country in the world. And I love the fact that I know that. I just recently learned that because, when you go to the news or you look on your TV, they want to try to tell you otherwise.
Right.
I don't watch the news
let me
on my
just
TV.
add this. Let me just add this because on the right on way off question, we have fun. So there's no right or wrong. I mean, you can do whatever you want. It's your
Right.
show.
Yeah.
But when I say that there's the greatest alcohol and drug abuse in the world is in Alaska, just based on population alone, you'd know that that's not actually factual. But if I say per capita, then it's factual.
Yeah, for per capita and for landmass.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
and Chris,
I missed that part.
It really does get back to they do. There is a calling for Christians to come back to their homeland, regardless of their where they're from.
Look, it's why all of us want to travel over there for 8 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to get a taste because and then I just had the taste in June and I'm the flavor's already starting to fade, so I need to go again.
In fact, one of our tour guides was a Russian Jew that had immigrated back.
What was their hurry?
Her name was Olga.
Her name was Olga, and
she was called by God to come to Israel and become a teacher and a guide.
And
great.
teachers and guides
she's a
in
Russian
Israel, it's not like, hey, come to Hollywood and we'll tour where the stars live. It's not that. You have to have knowledge in the Bible and in Israeli history. You have to have that. You have to
take the civics test.
Yeah, you have to know your stuff. So that's pretty interesting. Anyway, question number, what are we on here now? 1, 2,
I'm saying
3,
4.
4. We are on question number 4.
After this right on way off,
Yeah.
I'll be able to take the test to become a citizen.
I hope so.
I will learn that much.
Tune in. We can all become Israeli citizens.
That's right.
Okay, Hebrew, the only language in history to become completely dead and then come back to life again and become a recognized language. I forgot. Chris, we're starting with you.
I'm right on.
Way off. Yes?
I'm right on.
All right, right on.
Latin
yes.
has not come back in vogue.
No, it hasn't.
But yeah, I think Hebrew went completely extinct for a while, and then it's been revived. And then, of course, with the re-establishment of the miracle, a nation will be born in a day. And it was.
And it is their language, yeah. It's their official
well, I don't know if it's
language,
the 14th or 15th of May because everything happened so fast over those 48 hours. But I've always looked at it as the 15th of May because our youngest daughter was born on that day. So
okay.
That is an incredible thing, born in one day.
Born in one day. Mike, I don't know how you disagree with that, but give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with that because I'm getting trounced in this round of, we get participation trophies really on Right On Way Off, but those kids are keeping score.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go way off and take a chance. And here's why.
Okay.
Because the Bible was around the whole time.
That's true.
And so I'm thinking that there might have been some Hebrew Bibles lying around.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, you can find Latin right now too. You can find Latin stuff laying around, but it's not an alive language. It's a dead language.
So let me point this out for Latin. It's not the question, but it's a good sidebar.
Yeah.
Latin is used in science.
True.
I mean, science, Latin never died. It's just went to science.
Yeah. I think it's like in terms of.
I know it's
not.
It's a gray area.
Spoken.
It's not a country's official. It's not any country's official language. Anyway, and it's not spoken
anywhere
in
the
its
world.
purest
Where
form.
Hebrew
It's
is the
not
official
spoken.
language of Israel,
That's
and
true.
it is
That's true.
But Latin gave birth to Italian and to
Yeah.
Spanish and to French.
Yeah, and there's all the languages are combined into English. I mean, you got
We're a
influence
conglomerate.
from
That's
every
why we're so
every
hard to
language
learn.
under the sun.
Right.
All right. Last one.
Wait,
Last
what was the
question.
right answer?
Chris, right on.
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
It did. It became extinct. Like no one was speaking it because with the disbursement, they all went to different places. They all had to speak that language, and it was no longer an official language anywhere. Nobody was really speaking it, but there were, and they actually know these guys because I saw a documentary on them of a man who would faithfully write that old language. He would write it down because he wanted to preserve it. He wanted to know it. He wanted to pass it on to his children.
am right.
And it's through those writings of that man that it was able to be revived again. All right, last question.
Before we get to the last question, can I give a little sidebar?
Absolutely.
The Hebrew
We're all
language.
about sidebars.
I mean, you're talking about Hebrew language coming back to life, and you're not going to give me a platform to talk for 2 minutes?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yes.
Why do you think Israel and Hebrew language is one of the only languages, it's the only one I'm really familiar with, that reads from right to left instead of left to right? I learned this in June when I was over in Israel. Do you know, why do they do that?
Arabic does that too, don't they?
No, they read left to right.
They do?
Yeah.
They do.
Pretty sure.
I'm
Yeah.
misinformed again.
Unless I'm just like oblivious
One
to
of
it. But
yous is.
I'll be over here.
Hebrew,
if you
you
need me.
read right to left, and one of the reasons why is it's one of the ancient languages. And when ancient languages were written down, how did they do it back in the day?
With chisels.
With chisels. And so, let me move my microphone here a little bit. So, most people swing with their right hand.
Right.
And so, where do they hold the chisel? With their left hand, right?
Right.
So they're chiseling these words, and they're going this way.
Yeah. You
And
can't
just
go the
You
other
just
way.
keep going and so that's why they read right to left.
Okay.
And it was
Interesting.
ingrained in the chiseling of the language as it was developing way back in the day.
And then one day, some left-hander came along and changed everything for all the other languages.
So the Chinese, I think, right top to bottom, how did that become a thing?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Why did they build that wall? Why did they build that wall all the way across the country to separate
They
one
just
field
wanted
from
to
the
work
other?
with
I don't know.
they're working with gravity
And
here,
you know, Marco
okay?
Polo brought back noodles to Italy, and that's why we have pasta today.
Oh, really?
Really?
Wow.
Did not know that. Marco.
That's,
Polo.
that's good to know because, Mike, you make a mean spaghetti sauce. Your Nana's recipe. And
Yeah.
what would we put it over
My
if
gra-
we didn't have noodles?
Right? Spaghetti squash. It's not the
Yeah.
same.
Well, there's
It's
something about
not
your
the
sauce that no one
same.
else has ever done, and that is you literally infuse your sauce with these little sausage balls that are straight from heaven.
Is that the official Italian term?
Yeah.
Little
Could be.
sausage
Little
balls?
sausage balls.
It's grandma's recipe from Sicily, so
Sicily.
it's the real deal.
Yes.
And if you ever meet an Italian who makes the family sauce, and if
Yeah.
they don't tell you it's the best on the planet, they're not Italian. Every
See,
Italian makes the best sauce.
I believe that because we were in Cayman and we went to an Italian restaurant that was clearly family owned, if
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying.
Right.
So these people come out and they're talking with you and their recipes that they were cooking for people off the chain. And yes, they were great grandma's recipes. And they would tell us how like grandma started cooking for Christmas in like August, you know, and so it
good.
was just amazing. And so, yeah, I mean, they were very proud of the
We're
food
on
that they
Italian
served.
cooking on Right On Way Off,
Whoopsie.
waiting for the last question.
with the Israel theme.
But totally keeping in theme as Greg Reilly
Yeah.
was a chef, and
Sure.
so it's all food related anyway, right?
Yep.
Okay, last questions. Question, all right? And this Mike touched on a little bit earlier. So we'll start with Mike. It says all citizens in Israel, Jews and Arabs, enjoy full political rights. Women also enjoy full rights like they are not afforded anywhere else in the Middle East.
That
In
is
the Middle East. That's
so
key.
right on.
All right.
So
very
right on.
good.
And the women even serve in the military.
Yeah, they do.
So
Oh, yeah.
It's
I mean,
mandatory.
It's
mandatory, right.
Hey, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, Dr. Ruth. Do you remember Dr. Ruth? Little Dr. Ruth. She was like 4 foot nothing.
Yeah.
She
Dr.
was.
Ruth?
Yes,
I can't
that's
quite
the
do
one.
it, but
She
yeah.
was a sniper. Did you know that? Yes.
did not know
Little
that.
tiny Dr. Ruth
Yeah.
was a sniper. She served her terms.
Aim
and,
small,
and,
miss small.
and apparently she was really good.
Yeah.
So yeah. Is that? Are you?
Do I get to answer?
Should I go to Chris now? Are you done?
Yeah,
Did you
I'm
say
done.
Everything? Okay.
Yeah.
Chris,
I'm just
right
happy
on
I got
way
one
up.
right.
How
Right
did
on
you-
way off. All citizens in Israel, Jews, Arabs, enjoy full political rights. Women also enjoy full rights like they are not afforded anywhere else in the Middle East.
Can I split the question and say I'm way off on one part and right on the other?
Sure.
I'm way off on the Arab and Israel having full political blessing or whatever you called it. What'd you call
Right.
it?
Political rights.
Political rights.
Rights.
Depending on how you define that,
Mm-hmm.
that could be accurate. But most of the people that are on the ground over there
Mm-hmm.
would say that you have two classes of citizens. You have the Jews and then you have the Arabs. And that's just the way it is. And that's the way it is for air travel, the way it is for how you get building permits, the way it is for how you I mean, when there's an Arab family, nothing they did wrong. If they were a Jewish family, it would have taken 3-4 months. It took 21 years to get them a building permit. Now, you can't tell me that that's full political rights.
On paper.
I
On
don't
paper,
care.
on
The
paper,
other
yeah.
part with the women thing, based on the way the Arabs treat, the Arab countries in general treat women as lesser, Israel does not. Israel is a great haven for women to go and be treated with love, respect, and equal and all that stuff.
And they can drive.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Go
they
to
can
school
let
and do
their
all
face
those
show
things.
and all those things.
Now, I think you are right, Chris, as far as political rights. That's a term that we got to kind of clarify here. In that,
Can I add something?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't want it to come across like I'm a Palestinian sympathizer, and I am, but I'm not.
These are dynamics.
These
that
are
over
dynamics
there.
that you see over there, and you see people
You're
on
just
both
telling the
sides.
truth.
Yep.
If you ever want to be in a situation where you can hear somebody passionately explain their side of it, and it be absolutely diametrically opposed to the other person who's passionately explaining their side of it, and they both be right, go to Jerusalem and talk to an Israeli Arab who's been he's fourth, fifth generation born in the city, and yet he doesn't have the same rights as an Orthodox Jew who came in from wherever, Uganda, Ukraine, Russia, wherever. And that's what I'm talking about. It's just not the same. It's not
Right.
And here's what the disconnect is. So just stay with me for a second, because this is so important to me. The disconnect is that the Jewish people got the land in 1948. Get over it. It's theirs.
Right.
Okay. And so they want to have terrorist activities. They want to have bombings. They want to have all this stuff. All you got to do is point out the bad actors, and we can all live in harmony. And the Palestinian people refuse.
Oh, yeah.
They refuse.
Oh, yeah.
So the blame here is 50-50.
Sure.
Both sides seem to be trying to do some things, but you add Yasser Arafat to the mix,
Oh,
and all of my trips to the Middle East,
What a
I
train
have
wreck.
looked into it, and he and that philosophy that he has implemented, and Mahmoud Abbas is now carrying it out as best he can, even though no one likes him.
Mahmoud.
That was the name of my taxi driver, Mahmoud.
Mahmoud.
We went to
Anyway.
Jericho and had lamb. It was great. Anyway,
Yum.
so that's the problem. The Jews, to settle the land, have done as much grace extending as humanly possible. I think they went beyond what's humanly possible.
Yeah.
And that one issue is causing heartache
Right.
in millions of Arab Israelis' lives.
Yeah, and I think when you meet, whether they're Israeli or Palestinian or whatever, I mean, when you just the common ordinary person doesn't care. Like, we just want to raise our kids,
Yep.
we just want to feed our families, we just want to have a life. But it's those higher ups that, those in authority that try to stir things up. And it's just like here in the United States, where it seems like it's that minority group that is just the tail is wagging the dog. So that's obvious.
Look, most of the Palestinians, and we've been in environments, and Emily, you can speak to this, they
Yeah.
don't care.
Right.
They don't care if the Jews live there or not. It's the saber-rattling politicians.
Yeah. If you talk to some of the elderly people there, they remember the day when Jews and Arabs lived harmoniously side by side, and that changed when the political environment changed. Right. And so,
So correct me if I'm
Israel became a country.
Correct me if I'm wrong here. The Palestinians are being used as a pawn by Arab countries as a wedge in that relationship between, and they're trying to use that to erode Israel's geographic actual land and the Arabs and Iran, which is not Arab, but they're Persian. But they want to push Israel into the sea.
Exactly.
Hence the wars we had in the 60s.
Yeah.
And the Palestinians are being used as pawns and as a wedge.
Exactly.
Kind of.
Is that right?
Yeah,
I think so.
Not as much anymore. I think that was the game for a long time. The Palestinians control the West Bank now. I mean, they're in charge.
Sure.
And you have checkpoints that you cross over, and now you're no longer protected by the Israeli Defense Forces.
Yeah.
And
Right.
the problem's Jerusalem. And it's not that I say that, and my research all screams that. It's that the Bible says that. God has said that Jerusalem will be a stumbling stone for all of time, and until He brings the new Jerusalem down out of heaven. And so, if you're going to be in the new Jerusalem with us, why don't you go to the old Jerusalem with us? But in Jerusalem,
Pick out your house.
in Jerusalem, it's not so much being used as a pawn. In fact, a lot of those old tent cities, they don't exist anymore, really.
Right, true.
And so everything's kind of been settled, and people are trying to get along, and everybody wants to try to get along. But you cannot turn in a terrorist and be a healthy Arab, And you must always keep a passionate hatred for the Jewish people.
Yeah.
That's the disconnect. The
Right.
Jews don't feel that way, and most of the Palestinians don't feel that way, but they're told that's how they're supposed to feel.
Yeah.
Look at it like gender confusion here in America. Majority of the people don't want to deal with the she and they and who and what. And, I'm sorry, when you send me an email and your signature block has your preferred pronoun in your signature block, you just lost a ton of credibility.
Delete. Yeah.
You lost a ton of credibility with me and with the majority of the people that are over 50 years old in
Right.
this
Know where they're
country.
coming from.
Yeah.
I get it,
Yeah.
but the point is that most of us don't care.
Right.
We literally don't care, and it's the same thing in Palestine. It's the same thing in Jericho and in Jerusalem and in some of these other places where the Arabs they don't care. They just want to live in peace and harmony if they can, but they can't cross those lines.
Yeah, it's hard.
They just want to drive Chris across town and have some lamb.
Yeah,
It's
not across town. It was quite the story. But
Yeah.
It's a very intricate dynamic, but I think, like I said before, political rights is, I think, where the focus of that statement was. In that, in Israel, yes, all the Arab people, they do have their representatives in government, and the
Yeah.
process is the same,
Yeah.
regardless.
They're
That
not
you have to
discriminated
have
against in the Constitution.
Right. You still have to have the same number of votes. You still have to have the same number of this. That the playing field is the same politically, and so they are represented. They have Arab representatives in government. Part of the, you know what I mean. So it's not this,
Apartheid.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good word to put to it. So like we said, and even Chris, you and I, because we don't live there day in, day out, we don't even have a full grasp of all the dynamics
No.
that are going on there because they're so complex. But like we were talking about before, what we see on television is just simply not the big picture. Anywhere you go, whether you're talking about the Middle East or you're talking about the United States.
There was a news report in June when I was over there, and it was about how there's this big protest going on. I don't even remember. It was, again, Jews on one side, Palestinians on the other. There's this big protest and there's this big unrest. Well, that was 30 people on a street corner. Nobody cared.
Right.
And I
It
know
didn't even make it to us in normal channels. The city ran like it ran all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
That was just think about 20 or 30 of us going down to the local mall in whatever town
Yeah.
Right.
and in the parking lot having a thing. And then the news sends it over to XYZ country and they think all of America is burning like that parking lot. It's like, no, that's
No,
it's
well,
just a
right.
little.
as a news photographer,
nothing.
I know how
Yeah.
to zoom in on that and make it look like a whole bunch
That's
of
right.
people.
Right. You
Yeah.
can.
You certainly
Yeah,
can.
you make it look like
The
the whole
angle.
country's up in arms,
The
and they're not.
the angle you take
Oh,
can change exactly
Yeah.
what you see. Now, here's an example. In Israel, there are a group of Muslims who are very highly respected, and those are the Druze. And that is because back in
They're not Muslims.
back in that says a Muslim or Islamic sect.
Are they-
It is, yes.
The
Are they all
Druze?
named Drew?
Yes, yes.
I
yes.
learned it
Is it
different.
like
Anyway.
It's like Daryl and my other brother Daryl? Or- No, okay, all right. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
And it's funny because when they're talking about it, sometimes you think they're saying Jews, but they're saying Druze. And back in the 80s, when the PLO started getting very militant, and so on, this was a particular sect that said, no, we are not going to do that.
Nice.
And even since that time, I mean, for the past 40, 50, I don't even know, years now, the Druze have been living very peaceably among the Jewish people. And therefore, those Druze also have the ability to do certain things that other Arab people can't do. For instance, those Druze can be part of the police force. They can be part of things that maybe not all of the Arab community can be a part of, because they have demonstrated to the Jewish people that they are capable and willing to live peaceably among
trust.
the people there. There's trust there,
Yeah.
long trust.
Yeah.
And their products that they produce are very, very high quality.
Mangoes?
And so on. Yeah. So there, like I said, there are so many dynamics. It's really hard to wrap your mind around, but when you do go and you step foot in Israel, you will see for yourself what things are really, really like, good, bad, and otherwise. And so be considering that if you're listening to our podcast, be considering about whether or not you would want to join Chris and his merry lot of friends.
I'm going to try and get
go to Israel.
I'm going to try and get that page ready on the website before this episode even goes up.
Very good. Awesome.
That's what I'm going to try.
All right, Chris, you want to take us out?
Sure.
Are we good?
No,
Are we done?
I feel so. It was a nice Israel show today. We didn't do a lot of apologetics. We didn't have, some of the other news type stories that we may want to have. And as the show finds its sea legs, I'm proud to be a part of it. And
Good.
Emilee and I and Mike Shaw would encourage you to go to freshroadmedia.com. Freshroadmedia.com. It's on the bottom of the screen right there. And you will see that there is a show called Bible Idiots. That is just basically my teaching platform. That's what that's become. There's also a show called Jesus is Coming Soon with Mike Shaw. That's about Jesus is coming soon.
Just in case there's any confusion.
Amazing.
Hosted by Mike Shaw.
Amazing.
And so, Mike, tell us a little bit about your show before we sign off. What is the focus? What is the goal? Because I know it's kind of newsy, kind of prophetic, but where are we landing on this show?
It's kind of like sometimes it's news, sometimes it's interviews. I always want to be an encouragement and strengthening of the body of Christ as we await the return of our Savior, which could be any minute now, really.
Yeah, it could be.
I hope
Our
so.
redemption draws nigh, so be ready. Be ready.
Don't
be
forget,
ready.
this whole broadcast outreach is listener supported, so your best gift at freshroadmedia.com. And when I say broadcast outreach, I'm not just talking, we maybe want to switch it to journalistic outreach, because we have some world-class blogs written at freshroadmedia.com right now. And when you see them on Facebook or anywhere else, you need to help us by sharing that information. And go to freshroadmedia.com and do your thing. So thank you, Mike Shaw, for being a guest again on our show as our news director. So on behalf of my best friend and bride, Emilee, she is the captain of the show. My name is Chris. You get into the Word of God today and go and serve your King.